I find a lot of Afrocentric brothers and sisters. They can tell you about Egypt until your eyelids fall. They can tell you about Mali and Songhai, and they can tell you about what happened 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 years ago. But if you ask them, hey, can you lend me $10 until payday? I ain't got it, brother.
Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Black Excellence Daily. I'm your host, Sean Croxton. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got George Subira on the show today. I should say the late, great George Subira. I always say if George were still alive, he and I would be very good friends because we think on the same plane. He's got some phenomenal books that I highly recommend you check out. They are very hard to find. And typically they are very expensive because they're in such rare supply, but they're definitely worth it. 3 titles. Number 1, Black Folks Guide to Business Success. Number 2, Black Folks Guide to Making Big Money in America. And then lastly, Getting Black Folks to Sell. You can't go wrong with either of those. Pick any of them up. Invest in yourself. Today, George is going to talk about why we tend to not highlight prominent Black business people, like traditional business people. You know, typically when the conversation is around Black billionaires, the names that come up are, you know, the entertainers and the athletes, Michael Jordan, Tyler Perry, Jay-Z, Oprah Winfrey. But we very seldom talk about the traditional Black billionaires, the ones who made their money as self-starters, opening up their own companies, their own businesses, such as David Stewart. I think David Stewart is the richest Black man in America, but most people have no idea who he is. Robert E. Smith. Some of us know about Robert E. Smith. Most of us don't know about Alexander Karp. And also, many of us don't know about the prominent business people of the past, such as John H. Johnson or Earl Graves or A.G. Gaston or S.B. Fuller. Like, we need to know who these people are. We need to know their stories. We need to know their businesses. We need to know their obstacles. That way we can become inspired by them, but also model their success. George is also going to talk about, and this isn't a diss by any means, the Afrocentric individuals who can talk about Black history and Blackness in general and culture, but tend to leave economics out of the conversation. Economics deserves to be in that conversation because without economics, it is very hard to rise as a people. George Subira is coming up.
Let me talk about something else. Last year, almost to this very day, or was it this? It was to this very day. I gave a lecture in Youngstown, Ohio, and it was about 200 people there. A nice turnout. Everybody was in their African garb, and everybody was all humble and just, you know, in the spirit. And just before I spoke, they had a brother get up in front of the room, and he said, before we had the program, let's pay homage to our ancestors and pour the libations. And he had everybody hold hands, and they started to... He asked them to bow their heads and mention the names of forefathers and people who had gone on in the next life who had helped us fight the great battle, liberation. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening to 200 people roll off 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 names, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. It hit me like a ton. I had to change my presentation that night. I mean, I was on next. As soon as I got finished saying that, I was supposed to get to the podium and speak. And I was so hit with what I heard, and it surprised me so much that I had to kind of like change my whole presentation. What happened was this, to show you how deeply embedded in our psyche we are in terms of this business economic thing. I sat there and I listened to as many names as I could. And I heard the names of politicians. I heard the names of civil rights leaders. I heard the names of Jackie Robinson. I heard the names of athletes. I heard the names of musicians. I heard the names of all kinds of people. But guess what name you never hear? The name of prominent black business people. You will never hear prominent business people, black. Don't make a difference how many black folks they hired. Don't make any difference how much money they loan people to get out of their jam. Doesn't make any difference what they invented to make people's life better. There's only one person that somehow escapes, and her name is mentioned. One lady. Anybody know who I'm talking about? Madam C.J. Walker is the only black business person's name that you will ever hear when you hear about black people praising people in the past as business people. So I'm saying to myself, no, Subira, do you know what these people are just telling you without knowing that they're telling you? They're telling you that in their mind, it's almost inconceivable for them to see a black person as both a business person and a hero or a liberation fighter at one and the same time. You either A or B, you can't be both. Right. So how is it that we can talk about economic development today and in the future when we have no intention of even recognizing what we've already done the 100 and some years we've been out of slavery? So I said, okay, that's something that I need to bring to their attention so they can see what part of the problem is. Part of the problem is our own programming with respect to business. Now, how did this come about? Well, I don't have a guarantee that I can explain to you how it came about, but I do have a theory as to how it came about. And the theory is this. Slavery was an extension of the capitalist system. And when you are against slavery and you are against a system that says reap the highest form of profit regardless of cost, even if it means genocide in terms of the Indians, even if it means slavery in terms of African Americans, then you just go ahead and do that because profit is the ultimate thing that we're looking for. And from that kind of anti-capitalist thought, we developed an anti-business attitude. Not to forget the fact that during the segregation phases of our existence in the early 1900s and mid 1900s, it was largely the business community that hired us at such, measly wages and kept us out of their concerns, had us coming at the back of the door and all that kind of stuff during era of segregation. And again, that did not endear us to them or them to us. And so I understand the genesis of the anti-capitalist, therefore anti-business thought. But if that was so logical, then we would never run for governor. We would never run for mayor because we sure enough had racist mayors, and we could talk about how corrupt the political system is and how we shouldn't be a part of that. But once it became clear, damn, if I can get enough people to vote for me and we can run this town, maybe we can make some changes. The same thing, it appears to me, could and should apply in the area of economics, but it just didn't go that way. It didn't go that way. We seem to have been willing to integrate and see as a tool for our use almost every aspect of American society except the economic system, which seems to be gaining favor more and more throughout all parts of the world that in the past couldn't care less about American capitalism. Anyway, so that is part of the past. And my struggle, I've been a writer since 1980, my struggle for 18 years has been trying to find black folks who are both black and about developing something. I find a lot of Afrocentric brothers and sisters. They can tell you about Egypt until your eyelids fall. They can tell you about Mali and Songhai, and they can tell you about what happened 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 years ago. But if you ask them, hey, can you lend me $10 until payday? I ain't got it, brother. I ain't got it now. If you ask me next week, I won't have it then. I have no plan on getting it. But I'm going to be the world's expert in terms of telling you what happened with the great Egyptian pyramid, but don't ask me, to borrow any money. And the contradiction, I can remember when I was 19 years old. You're not supposed to know very much when you're 19, particularly when you haven't been introduced to, real knowledge, right? I remember in Pasadena at 19 years old working for a place called the West Side Study Center. And the West Side Study Center was a community center that dealt with getting jobs for youth in the summertime, helping people with their GEDs, helping people if they had problems with the military, getting them honorable discharges when they had this. Just an overall community agency. And I remember real deep discussions that the so-called heavy brothers had about the Mellons and the Rockefellers and the Fords and how they were robber barons and, took all this money and capitalists and all that. And I followed it, and it made sense. And then one day, I came in to maybe a place I shouldn't have come in, and they were writing this proposal for foundation funding. Okay. Well, where's the proposal going to? The Mellon Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation. I'm saying, weren't they the same dudes y'all was talking so bad about, like, last week? Last week, right? So why is it that y'all are applying? I mean, if they so bad, they had so much money till they decided to give some of it back to you, I guess, to a certain extent. From that day on, I saw the contradiction between the rap and the real deal when it comes to money. And to this very day, we have Negroes, men and women, who leave Columbia School of Social Work with a master's degree, and basically are qualified to do nothing but write proposals to beg white folks for money for black causes. I mean, why are you going to go to school to study how to beg? I mean, I can appreciate a wino who has had bad problems in his life and he just, hey, give me a quarter, but you're going to spend $40,000 from undergraduate and graduate degrees to study the art of proposal writing, which is another way of saying begging. And so I never really got too much into that whole thing.
That was George Subira. You can watch today's entire talk. I think it's like 2 hours long on YouTube. It's called George Subira, Close Encounters of Fourth Kind, Black Eco Development, 29 December 97, Trenton. So check that one out. Tomorrow we've got Dick Gregory on the show, encouraging you to open up your own business. Not just because you're going to be able to make more money and serve more people, but because of the tax write-offs. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.